joining us. Good morning, everybody, and happy Saturday. Let me get situated here. You can see my seeds. You can see my supplies. Happy Saturday, everybody. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to my weekly live chat. I try to go live here once a week on YouTube. My normal lives are on Thursday, but during the summertime, I decided to do Saturday mornings instead. And it seems to be working out really well. I may keep to Saturday mornings. I'm not 100% sure, but welcome. Thank you for joining me. Now, I wanted to just do the quick updates. My August seed sale is ending today at midnight. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hey, Jeffrey, thanks for joining us. And today I'm going to be talking about getting started with microgreens. Now, I already have, I think, 2 videos on microgreens. Very, very simple, and I'm going to make it super easy for you today. Hey, Crystal and Patriots Rabbitry, thanks for joining me. There are only a couple of basic things that you need to grow microgreens. And I'm outside undercover today because it has been raining, it has been storming, it's currently sprinkling out there, and we may get some thunder and lightning, and that may cut my video short, but I hope not. Hopefully it'll start afterwards. All right, so basic needs. You need some sort of container if you are not doing it in your gardens. I've actually done a video on microgreens in your garden where I literally just overseeded a bed with onion seeds, and when I thinned it, those were my microgreens. So it could be as simple as overseeding a bed and now you've got microgreens. It could be as simple as purposely overseeding a bed and not thinning, just harvesting your microgreens from there. But for this in particular, I'm going to share with you how I grow it in a tray. And it's warm enough outside, it's light enough outside, generally speaking, maybe not today, that I can grow them outside. Hey, Baxter, thanks for joining us as well. Now, I have a shelving unit over here specifically for seed starting and microgreens, but I didn't want to haul it all the way over there just for the sake of this video, so I just brought my little table out here to share with you. So for this in particular, I need a tray. I need a growing medium. Now, you can use seed starting medium, totally fine. I prefer coconut coir, super easy to use. And I have it available in 3 different sizes. So this is the regular small coconut coir brick. I have one that's called a bulk coconut coir brick, and it comes in a 2-pack, and they're much larger. They're about 1.5 pounds each almost. And then I have the giant ones, the extra large coconut coir bricks, and those are about 10 pounds. So you get a lot of coconut coir with that. For this video in particular, I am just using some that I've already rehydrated from the 10-pound brick. Very, very easy. And then, of course, you need seeds. By the way, if you are just joining me, welcome. Thanks for joining me. And for those of you that join me regularly, welcome back. In the description section of this video, you'll find a link to my comprehensive planting guide. You'll also find a link to bulk seeds. If you're looking to purchase bulk seeds to grow microgreens, use the code Microgreens at checkout and you'll save 10%. Through, I think, September 15th. Not 100% sure, but use the code. It'll save 10% off. So I have seeds. You can use all sorts of different types of seeds to grow microgreens. And if you've got questions while I'm live, you can always ask. If you are watching the replay, you can always send me an email. Or if you've got a question unrelated to microgreens, send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I actually answer your questions. Here comes the rain. I'm actually collecting some rain out there too, which is good for my gardens. Now it's a little steamy out here because it's super humid and raining, but I have broccoli seeds. Super fun. I love broccoli sprouts. Hey, Agape Field, thanks for joining us. It is a little stormy in East Texas right now. These are radish. I love radish greens. I have peas. These are lentils. I will have bulk lentil seeds available very, very soon. Hey, Susan, thanks for joining us. And last but certainly not least, black oil sunflower seeds. Now, these aren't the only seeds that you can use for microgreens, but this is what I have available. Baxter says, do you have bulk, chives, or leeks for microgreens? Yes, absolutely. Click the link to bulk seeds. Jeffrey says, did I see on your site that you can use sunflower seeds for microgreens? Yes, yes, yes. These are black oil sunflowers, and you can definitely grow microgreens with them. It's okay. So Baxter, check out the description section of my video, and you'll see a link for bulk seeds. You'll see leek seeds, onion seeds, black oil sunflower seeds, and those are all great for microgreens. If you're looking for a larger seed quantity, just reach out to me in an email. And if I don't have it available on my website, I may be able to offer it. So just ask. That's why I have so many options. You can even use amaranth for microgreens. So you've got seeds, a tray, coconut core, and last but not least, a spray bottle. Hey Inga, thanks for joining us. Now, why do I need a spray bottle? You don't want to displace your seeds after you've already started them. And I'll get to the process in just a second. So having a spray bottle is helpful for you to moisten your seeds and moisten your soil without actually, I should say, growing medium, not necessarily soil, without displacing your seeds or harming your forming or growing microgreens. If I remember correctly, they have a slightly nutty flavor to them. They're a really fun one. And I'm growing more microgreens now. They're great for fall. Now, one thing that is optional, if you're, depending on where you are, if it's wintertime, you will need a light. Altered Ego says, how do I know when to pick the scallop squash? Good morning, Alter Ego 420. Pick scallop squash young. I don't have large hands, but when it's the palm of my hand, that is the perfect size. So if you have larger hands, or, you know, for men, if you have larger hands, you want to pick it when it's smaller than that. 2 inches around, 3 inches around, that's a good size, because if you let them go too long, the outer skin will be too tough. All right, so let's get started. We've got our supplies, and I touched on the light. I have discussed different grow lights in a previous video because a customer asked. Alter Ego says, well, let me go get them. Good. A customer asked about lights and growing. So if it's wintertime, or if you have an area that doesn't get enough light, you definitely want to add a grow light. And if you're using a grow light, you want your grow light to be about 1 inch or 2 off your seeds. And that's going to depend, I should say, your seeds or your seedlings, because as the seeds sprout and germinate, you don't want them to be touching your light. And how far away that you have your light from your soil or from your seedlings is going to depend on what type of light you're using. If it's a very hot light, you want it to be obviously a little further away from your seedlings. If it's a cooler light, it's going to be closer. Okay? So I'm going to actually get started and do this with you guys. I'm going to have to, forgot to grab a rag, so I'm going to have to just wipe my hands off on my pants. All right, so I have my bucket here, and I got my tray. Like I said, I'm not doing this in the garden today. I'm doing this outside where it's not as convenient. I have a rack over there that I generally use for seed starting, but it's raining, so I don't want to go over there. Inga, I missed your question, but if you'll just give me a second, my hands are dirty, and I'll answer your question in just a sec. All right, so you want about 1 inch of growing medium. By the way, if you're interested, this is a 10 by 10 tray. These are available at marysheirloomseeds.com. And if you look at the starter kits, I actually have microgreen starter kits that come with these. Inga says, can you just put it in a sunny or a light window, or is it more day and night? No, you can definitely put it in a sunny windowsill. You may not have room for a 10 by 10 tray, but you can always use recycled containers. You know, if you have yogurt or sour cream containers. You can do smaller batches of microgreens. This is a great way to grow cat grass. You can do hard red wheat. We actually sell cat grass and oat grass seeds. All right. Can you hear the rain? Can you guys hear me okay, by the way? Just let me know if you can't hear me. All right, so I'm gently patting down the soil. Growing lights prevent seedlings from getting leggy. Absolutely. I use grow lights for some of my stuff as well, but for microgreens, you don't really have to worry about leggy seedlings because we're going to grow these just for the sprouts. If you're wondering what a microgreen is, it's literally a baby plant. So most of the seeds that we're going to do are super easy to use. These don't require any sort of treatments. One thing I will say though is for varieties that have a harder shell, specifically sunflowers, you might want to soak the seeds for 4 to 6 hours before you use them. That way I love the rain. That way the seeds are nice and soft when you get started on them. So I have a second one, and I'm going to use this as a cover because you want to get it's not the best way to cover it. Honestly, you could use a plate, but I'm just going to use this as a cover, and I'm going to put something on top of it so it doesn't fly away. Okay? So, it's getting a little rainier out here. So I'm going to do broccoli. Just wipe them on your pants. Why not? I'm going to do broccoli, and I overseed all the time. When I use seeds for microgreens, they're generally older seeds that I'm not selling, so these are from my secret stash. You can measure it out. For this, I'm just going to wing it because that's just how I roll. If you don't know, I tend to be a feral or mostly feral gardener. Let's see. Seeds. Inga says, does it need to be dark cover or can you just put a clear cover over? You can put a clear cover over. I prefer a dark cover. Hey Tina, thanks for joining us. I prefer a dark cover, and you're only going to cover it until your seeds germinate. That's it. And you want to keep it moist. That's another reason that you want to cover it, is because you want to keep them moist. A lot of seeds germinate better in the dark. Morning, Krista. All right, so I'm taking my seeds, and I only have 2 hands. Hang on. You can't see what I'm doing. Sorry, guys. Work smarter, not harder. There you go. Now you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm taking my seeds, and I'm going to sprinkle them over the top. Ta-da! Actually, I'm going to do some more. Now, it is that easy to grow microgreens. Now, from here, I'm going to mist the seeds. Another thing for this is if you're using a spray bottle, and if you share a home with someone, you might want to label it. You don't want to accidentally use something that has a cleaning product in it that's going to kill your seeds, or potentially, you don't want to poison yourself or your seeds. So if you share, like I said, if you share a home with someone, or if you share a gardening space with someone, you definitely want to make sure that you label what's in here. So I would put only water. For me, I don't share my gardening space with anyone, so that's what I do. Inga says, your seed stash looks like mine. I have jars. Yeah, I didn't label these before the video just because I know exactly what they are. All right, so I have properly or thoroughly moistened my seeds and my soil. The growing medium was already moist, so I don't really need to water it too much. Inga says, is it better to use a loose core or a coconut core mat? Okay, I prefer a coconut core that's loose. Coconut coir mats are single use. So once you're done with using the mat, generally speaking, you can throw it in the compost, but it isn't always usable afterwards. With this, once I'm done with my microgreens, I can take this and I can toss it in one of my garden beds and reuse it. So that's why I like the loose coconut coir instead of the mat. Some people prefer mat. Then I'm going to cover this up and I'm going to put something on top of it so that it doesn't blow away. And then every day or so, I'm going to take a peek in here, go, okay, you haven't germinated yet, and then take it off. But most of the time, these seeds are going to germinate in about 3 to 5 days, depending on what you're planting. And that's it. Once they germinate, I'm going to take the top off and I'm going to leave the top off. But I'm going to constantly moisten the soil every day if it dries out. So super important to not let it dry out. But that's kind of common with all seeds. You don't want your growing medium to dry out when your seeds are starting to germinate. It's one of the most common reasons that people struggle with seed starting. It's either too much water, not enough water, or you direct sow and critters eat your seeds, which happened to me this week. I went out there and I went to water my garden and I had just planted beet seeds. And the squirrels dug up an entire bed. It was a complete massacre in one of my beds. There were holes everywhere. So lesson learned. I might actually cover that bed before I plant again. But Inga asked a good question about covering it up. A lot of seeds require darkness to germinate. So I would definitely recommend a darker covering than just a clear plastic. If you don't use a dark covering, you would want to sprinkle a little more coconut coir on the top of this so that the seeds are not exposed, so that they are in the darkness. And that's pretty much it. The plastic wrap would be helpful to keep it from drying out, but the darkness would allow better germination of your seeds. So before I go, does anybody have any additional questions? I'm always happy to answer questions. And if I don't, if you're watching the replay, you can always send me an email. My email is mary@marysheirloomseeds.com, and I do actually answer your questions. And before I move on, I want to talk about harvesting, because obviously I don't have any broccoli sprouting already. I totally forgot to get a new tray started after I tossed out the old stuff. So when you are going to harvest your microgreens, you don't want to pull them out necessarily, because then you're going to disturb the rest of them. I tend to be on the feral side, and oftentimes I will just take a chunk and pull it out, wipe off the growing medium, rinse it off, and eat it. But if you want a prettier microgreen, you want to trim them. So you want to take a small pair of scissors and you want to trim the microgreens and then take them out, and that way you're not loosening up the rest of the growing medium. It's a more civilized way of doing it instead of being feral like I am. So you can totally just pull out a chunk of microgreens and consume it that way. Rinse it off first, by the way. Or you can trim it for a more prettier microgreen. So that's always something you can do too. But that's, again, once you have them growing. And I'll try and post a picture once these start germinating, and I'll give you an update on them. I'm actually going to start a couple of trays today because it's raining, and I'm not going out in the garden right now because we got thunder and lightning on our way, and I'm definitely not going to go out and risk it. Inga says I am too feral to go proper. Right, exactly. How long do they last in the trays? That's going to depend. It depends on how much light you give them and how much moisture you give them. In general, you're going to start harvesting these in about 10 to 14 days. And I wouldn't let them go too long, because then they get bigger and like leggier, and they're not as good, in my opinion, taste-wise. I like them when they're smaller and fresher. It just depends on what you like. They get a little tougher as they get larger, so Once they're about an inch or two, that's it. I would say max 30 days, but it's probably going to be personal preference as well, like how you like the flavor of them. And you can test it out yourself. You can start harvesting a little bit, say at 10 days, and go, okay, that was good, and then say a little bit more at 14 days and a little more at 20 days, and kind of get a feel for what flavor you like. And that's also going to vary probably with different varieties as well. Sean says, hey Mary, watching from Cornwall. It's a rainy day here as well. Welcome and thanks for joining me. All right, everybody, I am done for the day. Today we talked about getting started with microgreens. This was a special request from one of my customers. I do already have a bunch of videos on, well, 2 videos. One specifically is just growing microgreens out in your raised bed gardens. And then one I got started on a very large tray, but I wanted to show you a smaller tray from start to finish. So I will update you once these get growing and let you know how they worked out. Thank you everyone for joining me. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you have not already. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday. Oh, last but certainly not least, September 1st is a new month for us, and we have all new stuff coming out. So if you haven't already, sign up for my email. I will be sending out a big announcement on the 1st. So I hope you check that out and enjoy it. Thanks everybody for joining me, and happy planting.